أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد والثناء لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum, all dear brothers and sisters in Islam and all dear listeners. The Ashura movement is the most important and influential event in the first centuries of Islam for various reasons. One of the most important features of this event is the unique leadership of this movement, in which the infallible Imam sacrificed his life to preserve the most complete and last divine religion. Considering this fact that the best way to know the nature and characteristics of a movement is to know its leader and main figure, so here we try to briefly address the dimensions of life and personality of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein is the grandson of the Holy Prophet of Islam and the son of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, peace be upon him, the first supporter of the Messenger of God. He was born in Sha'ban in the fourth year after Hijrah in Medina. He spent 6 years of his life with the Prophet of Islam, and after the death of the Prophet, he lived with his noble father for 30 years. During the 10 years of Imam Hassan, his brother, he was a loyal, compassionate helper and a strong support. Finally, after Imam Hassan was martyred, Imam Hussein spent the last decade of his life, which was the period of his imamate during the caliphate of Muawiyah, with the beginning of Yazid's ruling and asking for allegiance from the Imam. He refused to do so, and after leaving Medina and staying in Mecca, he started his noble uprising, and finally, on the 10th day of Muharram, in the year 61 after Hijrah, in a lopsided battle, was martyred in the land of Karbala with a group of his family and his companions. The Holy Prophet of Islam paid special attention to Imam Hussein from the very beginning of his birth. In fact, the name of Hussein was chosen for him by the Prophet of Islam himself. This special care and expression of great love of the Prophet of Islam to his grandson was visible to all companions. Why? Because he wanted to inform the people of his love for Imam Hussein and his family by various sentences and different behaviors, so that he might be able to prevent the oppression that was inflicted on his Ahlul Bayt shortly after his death, and to make the Muslims understand the importance of supporting the family of revelation and following their way of life. In the narrations reported by both Sunnis and Shiites, the Prophet of Islam introduced the position of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein in various terms and referred to them as the masters of the use of paradise. The Prophet introduced Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein as the most beloved people to him and said, "Whoever loves Hassan and Hussein has loved me, and whoever has enmity towards them has enmity towards me. Imam Hussein was with the Holy Prophet during the event of Mubahala, a meeting between the Prophet of Islam and a Christian delegation from Najran in the month of Dhul Hajj, 10 years after Hijrah, when the Holy Prophet of Islam invoked a curse attempting to reveal who was lying about their religious differences. According to Aisha, on that day the Prophet of Islam gathered his Ahlul Bayt, namely Ali, Fatimah, Hassan, Hussein, in his robe and recited the verse of purification or Ayatul Tadhir. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. This is another sign of their greatness, credibility, and legitimacy. And in fact, the Holy Prophet, by bringing his Ahlul Bayt in the struggle between right and wrong, intended to introduce his successors, who are always the standard of truth to Muslims and Christians. During the caliphate of Imam Ali and his brother Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein was also a compassionate and devoted helper. He had such respect for his older brother that Imam Baqir said, ما تكلم الحسين بين يدي الحسن إعظاما له. Hussein never spoke in presence of his brother Hassan to honor him. Imam Hussein had such a huge status among the Muslims of his time that there is no one among his contemporaries or counterparts who had a similar status. Abdullah ibn Umar introduces Imam Hussein as being at the highest stage of self-purification and the closest position to the Messenger of God. And Abdullah ibn Abbas calls him Sayyid of Hijaz. Recognition of the privileged spiritual and social status of the Imam is not limited to the people of Hijaz and Kufa who lived with him for many years, but also the nobles and elders of the city of Basra who were supporters of Osman also praised him. The position of Imam Hussein was at such a level that both his friends and his enemies praised him. Muawiyah called Imam Hussein the most beloved person in the eyes of the people, and in his will to Yazid, in addition to explaining the position of Imam Hussein to the Prophet, he asked Yazid to respect the Imam and be patient with him. Thank you very much, all dear brothers and sisters in Islam, and all dear listeners for your attention to this program. In this session, we tried to talk a little about the position of Imam Hussein from the perspective and point of view of the Prophet of Islam and the great love of Prophet to Imam Hussein. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.